Today's racing is brought to you by Suzuki Motorcycles. Own the racetrack.
Round one of the 2012 New Zealand Superbike Road Racing Championships, brought to you by Castrol Power One, kicked off at Ruapuna Park, Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway. The second round would be in the South Island in Timaru, and the third round in Invercargill. The weather had played its part. There was a big crowd in to watch what should be an exciting weekends of racing. All the usual suspects were there, and the fastest in the 600s was Wellington's Glenn Scatchell. Glenn is similar build-up to last year, Tri-Series champion again, and now fastest qualified down here at Ruapuna.
Yeah, hey, look, we're real happy with that. This is probably my worst track in terms of results. It's really tough and technical, so to be on pole, yeah, it's a real achievement for the team and myself, yeah.
A surprise in the Suzuki Tri-Series and a surprise in the qualifying with 17-year-old Jaden Hassan from Auckland, stepping up from super stock to super sport.
I also learned a lot riding in Japan this year with Graham Crosby. That helped me a lot with my riding, and yeah, I think we've been able to step it up to hopefully a level that can get us some wins this year.
And a good performance here yesterday?
Yeah, no, we're happy with that. We're less than a 10th off pole, which Glenn Scatchell got, so we're relatively happy with the setup and that, and yeah, hopefully go one better today.
Third fastest in qualifying was the man that finished second last year. He's taken a lot of Australian experience in our New Zealand off-season, and John Ross had switched from Yamaha to Suzuki. Back at last year, took the lap record here in the racing. The racing was ballistic in the 600s.
Yeah, I think it's even going to be harder this year. I think with Jaden stepping up and Glenn's riding a little bit better here than he was last year. Dennis has qualified fourth, but he'll be right in the mix. So I think, I don't know if anyone will tag the front group, but there'll be definitely four guys the whole race in a bunch looking for the win.
So this is race one for the Super Sport, Super Stock, so essentially two races within one. It's the Super Sport, the hot-rodded 600s on the front row. Watch for number one, that is Dennis Charlotte. He is the defending champion, and it was Glenn Scatchell that qualified first, and it's Glenn Scatchell that's got a rocket ship start as they head down into Flexoplast turn one here, but Charlotte goes round the outside of him, and he will lead them going into turn one here at Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway. In fact, Scatchell just caught out on the inside there, and I think he's dropped another position. John Ross moving through there as well. Remember, two races within one. A good start by the look of it from bike number 24, and that's Johnny Small on the Super Stock bike. That is the standard version of the 600s, but it is the Super Sport champion, the man with number one on his bike, the Avon City Suzuki of Dennis Charlotte, leading them into the hairpin for the first time. Right in behind him, Glenn Scatchell. These two battled long and hard in the Suzuki Tri-Series, and Jaden Hassan was there as well, although he didn't go to Wanganui, so that affected his outright position, but he sits in third place at the moment. John Ross from Christchurch in fourth. So the defending champion, Dennis Charlotte, the president of Motorcycling Canterbury, making his way here as Scatchell has a good long look up the inside, can't make the pass stick though, as they come in through the S's now and down the short chute. This is further down through the order, bike number 43 there. This is Alistair Hugenbosom, ex-125 national champion. Right in behind him, probably the first of the super stocks, and that is Johnny Small from Timaru, won the Pro Light Championship last year. Gets a lot of help and mentoring from John Hepburn. Oh, and he's got it wrong in the big high side. He was very lucky not to be collected there. I think that might have been Jake Lewis that just missed Johnny Small from Timaru. Well, this isn't the start he was looking for. He limps away from his machine. Here it is on the replay. Just watch this. Back steps out a bit in the front tucks, and he is along for the ride, and that's a vicious high side. And there is Jake Lewis, and he misses him by millimetres. Well, good luck smiles on Johnny Small, but not for all the right reasons, as bike number 24 is damaged. We go back into the racing, and there's been a change at the front, and it's John Ross. Now, the story with John Ross is he had a massive crash in qualification. He is battered and bruised from his toes through to his head, but he is out there and he is racing, and man is he racing. He's getting away from these three. Scatchell is moved through into second place now, Charlotte, and then it's Jaden Hassan. But John Ross has got the best of them. So they work through into the S's once again. Ross on the Suzuki this year, rode Yamahas last year. Back down through the field, this is Avalon Biddle having her national debut on a 600cc machine. Avalon second in the 125 national GP class last year. Raced in Japan and overseas quite a bit in Australia. In fact, was a guest at the Melbourne Grand Prix at Phillip Island. So she's doing a pretty good job on the Wolfpack Racing CBR 600 as we watch this intriguing battle. And it's a battle of the minors because John Ross from Christchurch on the Suzuki has stretched away at the front of this field. There's number 1, Dennis Charlotte. He's a defending champion. He's chasing Jaden Hassan. Hassan on the Yamaha, Charlotte on the Suzuki. There is John Ross and there is Glenn Scatchell. So the gap's starting to close up here in this 15-lap race. 2 races within 1. Leading the super stocks at the moment would be bike number 29. That's Jake Lewis. We don't see too much of him as we watch this enthralling battle at the front of the field. 2 is John Ross. 41 having a good long look on the inside of Dennis Charlotte as they work their way through the hairpin. Once again, the pass doesn't work for him. Gets a bit of a vicious head shake on the 41, the Yamaha. That is Jaden Hassan, still a schoolboy. Second year on the 600s last year, tied with Midge Smart overall in the championship, but Midge Smart won the Superstock title on the countback. Jaden Hassan's moved up. He's got the hot-rodded Yamaha R6. He's in the Super Sport class, and he's mixing it with the big boys. There is Ross. 47 is Scatchell. Then it is 41 Hassan and Dennis Charlotte right back in this now. As I said, John Ross battered and bruised. Big dark circles under his eyes when I talked to him before the race started, and he walked gingerly to his Suzuki GSXR 600. And Jaden Hassan's the big mover this time. He moves firmly into second spot now. Charlotte up into third. Just a small mistake from Glenn Scatchell as we watch this race unfold. Just a few laps left in it here at Powerbolt Tools Raceway, Ruapuna. Remember, they're using the big circuit. They're using the dip up. Oh, and Jaden Hassan absolutely balked by that lap rider. You saw the lap rider put his arm out as if to motion Hassan to go on the inside. He went on the outside, and it's cost him second spot because now Dennis Charlotte is up into second place. And Hassan won't be happy with that. There'll be lots going on in that young head of his, trying to get that spot back, trying to get around Dennis Charlotte. I don't think he managed to do it. They worked through Fulton Hogan and down into the Christchurch Casino turn now, coming out of the carousel. John Ross in the front, the battered and bruised John Ross, the super fit John Ross, because he's riding 2 classes here today. Round the sweeper for the last time comes the man that is going to win the first of the 600 races, the Super Stock and the Super Sport, and it's going to be Christchurch's John Ross gets the win. In second place it will be Dennis Charlotte, and in third place it will be Jaden Hassan. And the best of the Super Stocks is Jake Lewis, the 125 champion, gets his first win on a 600. You got to the front, you pulled away, you brained them.
Yeah, I should have looked at my lap board. I thought they were still up my tail, so I just rode smooth, covered my lines, and didn't try to break any lap records.
And I always knew that John was going to be there, and same with Jaden. You know, there was only half a second between us in qualifying, so they were all very hard charges and have learned a lot last season. Come on strong this season, so they're riding really, really well. It's awesome.
There was only one man in it in the Superbike qualifying, and that man was on the Triple R Suzuki, and he was the 3-time New Zealand champion, Australia's Robbie Bugden.
Just finished the Phillip Island 8-hour a few weeks ago, and that was a great event. We managed to win that for Team Suzuki Australia. So, yeah, we've had a lot of saddle time, but you know, we just it's a little bit difficult, I guess. If we do have a disadvantage, is that we hadn't really ridden this bike until Hampton Downs, where the guys have probably been riding their bikes for you know, throughout the winter. So, kind of evens itself out a little bit, but. You know, at the end of the day, we're all here, and it's today's race day, and we'll see who's got it.
Did I say there was only one man in it? There was another man, and he was another Australian. He was the sensation at Wanganui. Dan Stouffer had cobbled together the budget to race here at Ruapuna.
The guy that bought our bike from last year, actually, we didn't have a bike to ride, so actually loaned it to us for this weekend. So it's pretty cool. It hasn't been touched since you know, like when we raced it last year. I think the last round was Hampton Downs, and but it's still going really well. We're really happy with it, especially handling package. So yeah, we've got a big day ahead of us now, so we'll see how that goes. But a lot of fierce competition out there today.
The talking point at Powerbolt Tools International Raceway with the performance, or should I say the lack of qualifying performance, of Andrew Stroud, back in 6th place. Such was the calibre of the field.
It's quite good for little old New Zealand, really, to have, you know, 6 or 8 guys that are capable of running at the front. But Robbie's the one definitely at the moment, that's. I think he did some 29s in practice, and he'll be the guy to beat.
So we get set for the first of the Superbike races. 2 onboard cameras to provide the pictures. This one from the front of the Kawasaki of Nick Cole and the other from Dan Stouffer's R1000 Yamaha. Great start once again from Stouffer, and also a good start too from Robbie Bugden. Remember, coming from the second row is the defending champion, the 9-time champion, that is Andrew Stroud, but it's the Aussies 1 and 2 as they head down into turn 1. It is Bugden in the front. You're riding here with the Bernard Racing Yamaha R1 of Dan Stouffer, and Andrew Stroud's just gone by him into second place by the look of it. So Stroud's come from row number 2 to move through into second place now as they work their way down into pothole. Number 2, this is the 3-time New Zealand champion. This is Robbie Bugden from Queensland, Australia, where he's a landscape gardener. Stroud through in second place. Oh, problems here, and that's Nick Cole. Well, there was a lot of expectation from Nick Cole on the Kawasaki, and it's gone dramatically wrong in the first race. Now, I'm not too sure what happened. We might see it here from the onboard. You're on board with Cole, and that looks like it is Scott Moyer that just tries to come across, and just in front of him, oh, and they touch, and that was Ryan Hampton on the Hampton Honda, the CBR 1000 RRR. So Nick Cole's race hasn't got off to the very best of starts. We go back to the action. Suzuki versus Yamaha versus Suzuki. So while we've been away, Andrew Stroud's gone back into third place. Bugden, who qualified 0.7 of a second faster than anyone else, leading it. But as I say that, Stouffer's had enough of that, and he goes into the front now. Well, it was a hallmark of his racing last season. Aggressive in the corners is Dan Stouffer on the Brian Bernard Racing Yamaha. Amazing when you think that this deal was only put together at the very last moment. This is the bike he raced last year. It had been sold, but the owner said, look, if you guys are in trouble, I'll lend you the machine. Great pictures coming from Dan Stouffer on the Bernard Racing Yamaha. And just listen to that distinctive Yamaha growl as he works his way in and out of the dipper. Remember, they're using the long circuit here at Powerboat Tools International Raceway. Down the short chute and into the Rock FM sweeper. It is Stouffer. It is Bugden in second place. It is Andrew Stroud still through in third, but now he's getting a fair bit of attention as well. And I think that might be coming from John Ross on the BMW. We'll get a better look at that as the pass is made once again. The Suzuki just drag racing the Yamaha into turn 1 here at Powerboat Tools Raceway. Through Flexiplas they go, and just look how close that Dan Stouffer gets as they head into the Castrol straight and into pothole now. Bugden in the front. Suzuki versus Yamaha. In and out of pothole they come. This is action further down through the field. This is bike number 3, and this is Chopper Frost, Sloane Frost on the BMW, right in behind him, a second BMW in the field, and this is John Ross. We just saw John Ross take a win in the 600s. Well, he's a glutton for punishment. He's racing 2 classes today. So the battle of the BMWs is the minors at the moment. That is 3rd and 4th. There is Andrew Stroud just up ahead of them. Here comes the big move coming from John Ross down the inside as they work their way through the hairpin and out into the carousel once again. Nothing that Sloane Frost can do about it. The M1 Motorsport rider, there he is, bike number 3, just tucked in behind John Ross. Ross having ridden BMWs in pro stock in Australia in the New Zealand off-season. This is the Jeff Gray BMW out of Christchurch. Sloane Frost now out of Wellington, tucked in behind him. Andrew Stroud is the prey that John Ross will be concentrating on. And it looks to me like John Ross is actually catching Andrew Stroud here. They work their way through the S's, heading into the dipper. So we go back on board the man in second place. This is Dan Stouffer. This is happening further up the racetrack. This is the long front straight here at Powerboat Tools International Raceway. These bikes touching around about 305 kilometres an hour. So it is very, very fast indeed. This is the battle we're looking for. 3rd, 4th and 5th. Andrew Stroud getting under some pressure now from John Ross as they come out of the sweeper and down the long front straight. And Stroud's got a problem. Stroud's got a problem with the David Reed Holmes Mobil 1 Suzuki because both Ross and Chopper Frost have gone past. So Andrew Stroud has got a mechanical problem. Well, this is something he didn't want to see. This is the first round of 5 for the Castrol Power 1 New Zealand Superbike Road Racing Championship, and Andrew Stroud has just seen valuable points disappear. So problems for the 9 times champion, and John Ross disappearing up the road, and so too now is Sloane Frost, bike number 3. But as I speak, Stroud recovers. Well, what is going on under Andrew Stroud at the moment on the David Reed Suzuki? This battle, remember, 3rd, 4th and 5th. First and second, further up the road, it's the two Australians. It's the Dingo Show, if you like, here in Christchurch. It is Robbie Bugden out in the front from Dan Stover. This battle we're watching is for third and fourth. In fact, this is for fourth and fifth. As Sloane Frost tries to reel in the 9 times New Zealand Superbike champion. There he is, bike number 1, the David Reed Holmes Mobile 1 Stroud family Suzuki. And then behind him, the M1 Motorsport BMW. With the traction control, that is Sloane Frost. We're back on board here with Dan Stover. Now, if you've got really good eyes, you can probably see that fast disappearing dot in the foreground. Now, that is Robbie Bugden. That's the sort of lead he's got at the moment. So it is Bugden, it is Stover, it is John Ross, it is Andrew Stroud, and then it is Sloane Frost. Back in 5th place, or make it 6th place now, would be Ray Clee out of Kumu, and then it'd be Ryan Hampton. And Ryan Hampton compromising the race of Nick Cole. I can tell you, Nick's circulating fast, but at the back of the field. Frost looking every which way he can to get around Andrew Stroud. Can't find a way around him at the moment. Stroud has definitely got a mechanical issue on the Suzuki, and that's going to cost him valuable points. You can't always win the championship in the first round, but you can very easily lose it, because these championships are decided by 1 and 2 points in some cases. This is John Ross out of Christchurch. On the BMW, he races a Suzuki in the 600s. We go back on board with a man in 2nd place. Dan Stover finished 2nd and 3rd in the Australian Superbike Total Chase a few years ago now. Came here to New Zealand last year with Brian Bernard Racing on this very same bike, but had a bit of a shocker over the National Series, had some crashes and some mechanical issues. It looks like they've fixed those now, because he is firmly in 2nd place, but he's a long way behind this man. This is Robbie Bugden, Triple R Suzuki, Volvo Team Suzuki GSXR 1000, Victory Wheelie, and I'm sure this means a lot to the Australian. He came here last year and he was beaten handsomely by Andrew Stroud. He's turned the tables this time round. Bugden gets the win from Stover, Ross, Stroud, Sloane Frost and Ray Clee.
Yeah, that meant a lot, mate. It was been a long time coming after everything that happened last year, the broken leg, and then it's getting dominated all year by Andrew, and you know, I've had all year to stew over it, and that one just felt real good.
Robbie's just riding so well out there today. He's just sort of in a different league. We can hammer him around the back of the circuit, but we're too even, and he gaps me a little bit on the straight, and I just haven't got, I couldn't keep it up, trying to make all that back around the back square. We could do it for a few laps, but then once the tyres got a little bit hot and a bit squirmy, it was all over. So everyone was giving me big gaps to behind me, so I don't know what happened to the boys behind me, so I just decided to taper off a little bit then and just take it easy.
Today's racing is brought to you by Suzuki Motorcycles. Own the racetrack.
Well, it is Avon City Suzuki that sponsored the Super Sport and Super Stocks. Once again, 2 races within one, and one of the most prestigious titles in New Zealand motor racing, and that is the New Zealand Grand Prix. It is traditionally battled here at Powerbolt Tools International Raceway, Ruapuna, and it is the same in 2011. And once again, it is another fantastic start from the defending champion, and that is Dennis Charlotte on the Avon City Suzuki, bike number 1. Scatchel in 3rd, John Ross up into 3rd. There is Jaden Hassan on the Yamaha, and a good start from Alistair Hugenbosen by the look of it. Bike number 43 on the Suzuki. Best of the Super Stocks, looks like it'll be Jake Lewis again, just fitting up in there in about 6th or 7th place on the stock standard Yamaha R6. Remember, the Super Sports are the hot-rodded versions of the 600 sports production machines. The Super Stocks are the stockers. Oh, I might have spoken too soon, because it looks like Johnny Small has got up just in front of Lewis there. So 2 races within one. We concentrate at the front of the field. And this man, Dennis Charlotte, the defending champion, that's why he wears the number 1, working his way through the infield carousel here at Powerbolt Tools International Raceway, being shadowed all the way by Glenn Scatchel. Sketchy to his friends, in and out of the S as they come. Remember, they're using the dipper, so it's the long track here at Powerbolt Tools International Raceway. And pretty much the only time this part of the track's used these days is for motorcycle racing. And all the riders I talked to said it's one of the most difficult parts of the circuit, and they're very surprised that a lot of the car guys are a bit shy of it. Out of the dipper, it's straight down the short chute and into the Rock FM sweeper at the top end of the circuit. And then it's the long drag race down the front straight here in Christchurch. There is a quick look at Team Hoogie. In fact, both of them there, Alistair and James, just sandwiching Jake Lewis. Jake Lewis would be the best of the super stockers at the moment. In fact, just in front of him is bike number 43, and that is Alistair Hugenbosen, ex-125 Grand Prix champion of New Zealand. Second season on the 600 for him. 3 Hugenbosens competing this weekend. Alistair and James in this race, and Matthew in one of the support classes. Jake Lewis is another one that's done a lot of international travelling in the New Zealand off-season. Been to Japan, been up to Europe. Missed out by just a whisker of getting in the KTM Rookie Cup, which is part of the support program for MotoGP. So it's been a very busy year for the youngster from Christchurch. And he's in a great scrap here. He'd be the first of the super stockers. And keeping the Hugenbosen family honest at the moment. Alistair in the front, James in behind him. This battle going on further down through the field, 5th, 6th and 7th. We go back to the front of the field now, and it's getting a bit more interesting because once again, it is the battered and bruised John Ross that has taken the racing to Dennis Charlotte. Ross on the Suzuki last year, finished second last season on a Yamaha, dives up the inside through the S's and takes the spot back, and Charlotte says, anything you can do, I can do better, and coming into the dipper there, handlebar to handlebar. Fantastic racing in the 600s, brought to you by Avon City Suzuki here at Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway. Charlotte's got the advantage, but here comes the big challenge from John Ross. He had a terrible crash in the qualifying section of the racing on the Saturday, but he's good as gold now, and it's a big drag race right down to the finish line. Charlotte in the lead, Ross in behind him. Charlotte will hold on to it as they complete one more lap here at Powerbuilt Tools Raceway. But don't count out John Ross. He never knows when he's beaten. It's a struggle just to get on the bikes, and he's riding 2 classes today. He is far from 100% healthy, but it doesn't show in his riding. And it's going to take the defending champion to beat him here because they've distanced the rest of the field. Out of pothole, here comes the big challenge down the outside from Ross. Christchurch rider versus Christchurch rider right around the outside as they go into the hairpin, and Dennis Charlotte, well, how did he save that? The bike got very, very sideways indeed, and that was the incentive that Ross needed. He nipped in front of him, and they go into the carousel, and the positions are reversed. It is Ross from Charlotte, first and second, back in third, a long way back now. It's Glenn Scatchell, then it's the Hugenbosen family, Alistair and James, and then it's the first of the super stockers, and that would still be Jake Lewis. But this is where we concentrate. This is where the action is at the moment. The lap's winding down. They come out of the carousel. Ross just seems a little bit quicker as they work their way through the S's. But here comes the challenge from Charlotte. You don't get to hold the number 1 plate without having something in reserve. And has Charlotte got something in reserve? Into the dipper they go. Charlotte all over the back of John Ross's Suzuki, but he can't find a way round. Down the short chute they come. He's a little bit closer this time. He'll go to the brakes last as they come into the Rock FM sweeper. It's Ross on the inside. Charlotte on the outside. Ross, has he got the winning advantage? They come down the long straight now. Who's got the horsepower? They wind it up. John Ross nearly on the grass as they come through, and I think Charlotte's picked his pocket, and I think John Ross knows it. The fist comes up, and Dennis Charlotte gets the win in the closest finish we've seen. 5/100ths of a second from John Ross. Glenn Scatchell a long 17 seconds behind, and then it was Alistair Hugenbosen.
When I couldn't get him in the dipper there, I ran in quite deep into the sweeper there and stood up, got a really good drive out of it. And I knew John was protecting the race line, so he couldn't really get on the gas really early, and I could. So yeah, just got it across the line. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was a shock when I saw this flash pop past me about 10 metres before the finish line. But Dennis obviously went in deep into that corner, got some good corner speed, drafted me out, and yeah, well done to him.
Jake, a pretty amazing debut on the 600 to take out the New Zealand Grand Prix.
Yeah, no, fantastic weekend. Just can't say enough to all the guys that are helping me out. Just had a awesome time, having fun, and yeah, can't get enough of it.
Is it comparable to the 125 from last year?
Oh, not really, but 125 definitely helps. Keeps up my corner speed, and it's just helped me so much this year, and it's been a good learning curve, and hopefully we can keep going forward.
So have a look at the points after round 1 here in Christchurch. It's Dennis Charlotte on 45 points along with John Ross, and in third place now Glenn Scatchell. In the Super Stocks it is Jake Lewis, the perfect score, 2 wins from 2 starts. This is the one that the big crowd here at Powerball Tools International Raceway have been waiting for, and we've got 3 onboard cameras for your enjoyment this time round. This one from Nick Cole looking out the front of the Kawasaki ZX-10. We've also got an onboard from Andrew Stroud looking at the back of the bike, and also Brian Bernard's racing Dan Stouffer. You're on board here with Nick Cole, and once again, he's got a terrible start by his high expectations as they go into turn 1 here, this long turn 1 at Powerball Tools International Raceway. This is the view from Andrew Stroud's bike. Right in behind him, it looked like it was Ray Klee and also Scott Moyer out of Taupo on the Wolfpack Racing Honda. We go back towards the front of the field, Robbie Bugden in the lead, and once again, are we seeing a replay of what we saw in race number 1? It's the Australians to the fore, into the hairpin for the first time. It is Stouffer in second, chasing Robbie Bugden. Andrew Stroud just goes up the outside of James Smith on the RRR Suzuki. So there is Andrew Stroud. Right in behind him is James Smith, but it's the Australians to the fore. I can tell you that there was a mechanical issue for Andrew Stroud in race number 1. He had a clogged fuel filter, can you believe it? A nickel and dime part slowed the charge of the 9-time champion. This is the onboard from Nick Cole's camera. Once again, he's got together there with Ryan Hampton on the Castrol Honda CBR 1000R as we ride with him. At the back of the field, once again, we go back to the front. Stouffer getting a little bit closer to the Suzuki of Robbie Bugden. Stroud through in 3rd place. James Smith, this teammate of Robbie Bugden, through in 4th. You're back on board here with Dan Stouffer. Once again, that throaty verbal of the Yamaha R1 as opposed to the shriek of the GSX R1000R of Robbie Bugden in the front. And Bugden just pulling away as they go down the long front straight here at Powerball Tools International Raceway. Down through the gearbox goes Stouffer as you ride on board with him, but he hasn't got an answer at this stage to the speed of Robbie Bugden. And there is Andrew Stroud, goes by, and we get the view from the back of Andrew Stroud's David Reed Holmes Mobil 1 Suzuki. And Stouffer says, I'll have none of that, I'll have it right back. Thanks very much, Andrew Stroud. I don't care if you're a 9-time champion. I'm an aggressive Australian, I'm taking 2nd place back, and he does that at the hairpin. You're on board here with Nick Cole. Oh, and there's a problem. We've got a rider down, and that is bike number 87, and that's Scott Moyer on the Wolfpack Racing Total CBR 1000 RRR. Scott having his first season on the Superbikes. Welcome back to Powerball Tools International Raceway, round 1 of the Castrol Power 1 New Zealand Superbike Road Racing Championships, and we are in the early stages of the New Zealand Grand Prix title, and you're riding with a man in 2nd place. This is Dan Stouffer from Australia. Just up ahead of him, it is Robbie Bugden. In and out of the dipper they come, heading for the big sweeper at the top end of the circuit here at Powerball Tools International Raceway, and that is the Rock FM sweeper. And you'll see the foot come off the foot peg there of Robbie Bugden, and that's a trend that we've seen in MotoGP over the last few years. Just helps balance the bike out, probably gives the rider a bit of confidence. Another pass for 2nd place as Andrew Stroud puts the power to the ground on the David Reed Holmes Suzuki and goes in front of Stouffer. So this is a battle for 2nd and 3rd from the camera position sitting on the rear tail fairing of Andrew Stroud's Suzuki. You're watching Dan Stouffer on the Brian Bernard Racing Trevor Pearce Yamaha Superbike. Trevor Pearce sponsoring the Superbike racing here today at Powerball Tools Raceway, and certainly helping with the Bernard Racing effort as we're back on board here with Stouffer, getting very, very close to Andrew Stroud. You just hear the revs build so quickly. That's wheel spin from the big horsepower R1 Yamaha as these guys working their way through the infield section, if you like, through the Christchurch Casino Carousel. And this is the view of Dan Stouffer from Andrew Stroud's camera as they work their way into the S's and heading up into the dipper. And if you get a bit of motion sickness, look away now, because it's about to get pretty violent. Look at the lean angle from Dan Stouffer as they work their way in and out of this dipper. So close to the curbs. That's why they wear the Teflon knee scrapers. And this is the outside shot, and it's getting a little bit closer now between Andrew Stroud and Robbie Bugden. And it's also getting closer between Craig Sheriffs and Dan Stouffer. Shearers was a DNF in race number 1, but back fighting hard here in 2. You're back on board with Andrew Stroud, looking out the back, looking behind towards Dan Stouffer as they work their way through the infield once again. Oh, and Stroud's tossed it away. Well, that is history in the making. I don't think it's probably been more than 5 years since Andrew Stroud has had a crash. He's quickly remounting the bike. You're getting all the pictures in the world here as he tries to pick up the 1000cc David Reed Holmes Mobil 1 Suzuki. Can he get back in the race? Number 1, the 9-time champion, had a mechanical issue in race number 1, and now he has hit the deck. And I think, I've been watching Andrew Stroud for a long, long time. I think you've got to go back to 2006, the last time that Andrew had a soil sample, and it looks like he can't get the bike fired up, or maybe he's broken the handlebars. Well, no problems here for Dan Stouffer on the Bernard Racing Trevor Pearce Yamaha, the R1. He's still currently sitting in second place. We go back down the field here, and we're on board with Nick Cole just getting down the inside of Ray Klee. And what a season Ray Klee's had this year. A standout in the Tri-Series on the RCM Coleman Suzuki. As we ride with the Kawasaki, hitting terminal velocity close to 300 kilometres an hour, 200 horsepower at the rear wheel from these New Zealand spec superbikes. And that was John Ross just going past Nick Cole. So he may be carrying a few injuries, but it's certainly not showing his performance. The man on the Jeff Gray BMW, riding 2 classes today, already picked up a win in the 600s, a win in a second place. This is James Smith, another one from Christchurch on the RRR Suzuki Superbike. For the first time, James has got a real Superbike under him. Last year he ran with the good suspension, but pretty much a stock engine. But this time, Red Fenton's given him the whole package, and he's using it. Another Christchurch local that started off on 150s and then 125 GP bikes. It seems a long time ago now. Number 77, James Smith from Christchurch. Hit hard, as so many residents were by the Christchurch earthquakes, well, the ongoing Christchurch earthquakes. But back doing what he loves to do. Back on board here with Nick Cole, still with the attentions of John Ross. This time, Cole repays the favour. Or does he? No, he doesn't. They got very, very close. But he couldn't make the pass stick. So John Ross stays in front for the moment anyway of Nick Cole. This is the New Zealand Grand Prix for the Superbikes. This is this battle we've been watching from the onboard. There's the outward shot. Cole, number 7, just in front of him at his bike, number 85, and that is John Ross on the BMW. Into turn 1 they go here at Ruapuna Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway. Then it's down the Castrol Straight. Meantime, there's a problem here on the racetrack, and I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a red flag here. And one of these riders looks injured. Number 41. Now, it's going to take a bit of sleuthing work, but I think that might be Rhys Holmes on his BMW, because he's riding under bike 14 on the Yamaha and the Superbikes, but I know that he rode a BMW in the Bears, and the other rider we're told was Dion Sellers. This is the restart. Now, there's been a little bit of drama here because you're on board here with Nick Cole, but you haven't been on board with Andrew Stroud. That's Andrew Stroud at the very back of the field. He came back after the red flag came out. They went back into the pits. He repaired the handlebar in his machine, and he has started from the very back of the field. Now, there's some consternation with some of the officials as to whether Andrew Stroud should have started at all, but he has started, but he started at the very back of the field. And look at the start he's got. It's an absolute flyer. He's come from the very back from about grid number 10, and he is currently sitting up in 3rd place at the moment. Make it 2nd place as they go into the hairpin. So it's a brilliant start from Stroud. He's got up in front of Brian Bernard. But as I said, there was a lot of conversation on the grid on the restart, and I would be thinking at this stage, hold all tickets. There may be an inquiry into this one. It is Robbie Bugden out in the front. It is Andrew Stroud up in the 2nd place. It is Stouffer in 3rd. So it's Suzuki, Yamaha in this restarted Grand Prix event. Now the word is, to restart the event, you had to have done 65% of the race distance. Now the red flag came out at lap number 5, and the controversy is the fact that maybe Andrew Stroud hasn't done 65% of the race distance, but we'll sort that out at the end. At the moment, we've got a race on our hands. It's the restart of the Superbike Grand Prix, brought to you by Trevor Pearce Yamaha, and you're riding on board here with, I would say, a pretty angry, a pretty fired up Andrew Stroud. Right in behind him is Dan Stouffer, but out in the front is Stroud's nemesis, He has taken the title from Andrew Stroud 3 times, and that is Robbie Bugden. And there he is, bike number 2, the Triple R Volvo Team Suzuki, run by Red Fenton. Here comes the attack from Stroud, and right around the outside through turn 1 here at Ruapuna goes the 9 times champion. Now, has he made the pass stick? No, he hasn't. Bugden's come right back at him. Suzuki versus Suzuki. Robbie Bugden comes to New Zealand riding hot. A vastly different story from last year when he came here to Christchurch with a broken leg. And how sideways do you want to get it? We see it all the time in MotoGP, and now we're seeing it in the New Zealand Grand Prix. One of the most prestigious trophies to win in New Zealand motorcycling, save for the national title, and it's the old adversaries going at it again. In and out of the dipper they come, and here comes Stroud, and Bugden's made a mistake, and it's cost him second place as well. Well, did he miss a gear, or did he just have a miscue? Andrew Stroud goes into the front. Now the challenge comes from the Yamaha of Dan Stouffer, but Stroud is a wake-up to it. And I got it wrong. It wasn't the dipper. It was the infield carousel. Such is the excitement in the Superbikes. Race 2 for them. It's all about points for the Castrol Power 1 New Zealand Superbike Road Racing Championship, but it's all about the prestige. And at the moment, it's very much all about the 9-time champion, and that is Andrew Stroud. Stroud in the front, but as I said, maybe hold all tickets. We'll wait and see if there's a siren at the end to keep the racing parlance going, because I think the officials will be having a good long look at this. Down the front straight they come once again. Andrew Stroud in the front, Stouffer in his slipstream. Then it is James Smith. James Smith got a rocket ship start as well in the first start of the Grand Prix, and he's got a good restart in the restart as well, if you make any sense of that at all. 77, there he is, Jimmy Smith from Christchurch. Right in behind him, it is Robbie Bugden from Queensland, his Triple R Suzuki teammate, and Bugden's got a problem. The hand comes up off the handlebar. It's a mechanical issue for the 3-time New Zealand champion, I would think. As we go back to this action at the front of the field, we'll just keep an eye on Robbie Bugden, just see what he's going to do here. But a mechanical issue for Red Fenton's Triple R Suzuki teammate by the look of it. Well, there's battles all the way down the field here in Christchurch.
Today's racing is brought to you by Suzuki Motorcycles. Own the racetrack.
Well, this enthralling battle continues. Welcome back to Christchurch and the Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway. James Smith there now. He's getting a bit of attention from Craig Shearers. Fielding's Craig Shearers, bike number 56. As I said, a DNF in race number 1. His clutch adjuster, can you believe it, unscrewed itself and he couldn't get it fixed in time. So he scored no points in race number 1. So he'll be fresh. But at the front of the field, the man probably riding a little bit angry is Andrew Stroud, because there was some quite long conversation on the restart of this race as to whether Andrew Stroud should have started it or not. And I know on the warm-up lap he went to his original grid position, and when the lap was finished they pushed him back to the back of the field. That's all academic now, because he's leading the race on the racetrack anyway from Dan Stouffer, and there it is for all to see. In and out of the dipper they go. 1, the David Reed Holmes Mobile. 1, Suzuki of Andrew Stroud. Dan Stouffer on the Brian Bernard Racing Yamaha R1. And they're as close as you like here. This is a battle further down through the field. This is a battle for 3rd and 4th place now. Remember, we've lost Robbie Bugden, the winner of race number 1 and the leader, until he made a small mistake just a couple of laps ago here in the New Zealand Grand Prix. You're back on board here with Nick Cole, and somehow he's managed to get together with John Ross once again. Brilliant pictures from the Kawasaki of Nick Cole. But he won't be happy with his performance. Had a very good tri-series, registered his first win on the Superbike for the 2011-2012 season. But he has had a shocker by his own high expectations here at Ruapuna, and he's had another shocker because he's right off the pace. This time a mechanical issue by the look of it for the Kawasaki as the rest of the field fly by. This is a view out of the back of Andrew Stroud's Suzuki, and right in behind him, just about nudging him, is Dan Stouffer on the Brian Bernard Racing Yamaha. Now he drives to the inside to make the pass stick, but he can't make the pass stick. This time Stroud goes a little bit wide and Stouffer goes into the front. Well, everything you've come to expect in the Grand Prix here at Christchurch, Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway. It's as tight as you like at the top, and Dan Stouffer says anything you can do, Andrew Stroud, I can do just as well. And he's in the front on the Yamaha. This deal coming together at the very last moment for Brian Bernard and Dan Stouffer. There is some talk that he may do the rest of the series, or maybe we will see him at Pyra. Back down through the field. Here is a recovering Nick Cole. John Ross with him as well. So too one of the Hondas. We're on board with him here. And it is Ryan Hampton by the look of it. The young man from Christchurch. Started in motorcycling in trials competition, can you believe it? That's a long way away from Superbike racing. And this time, Nick Cole has gone off the circuit once again. Now, whether he's run out of brakes or something gone's wrong, he looks down at the Kawasaki. It looks to me like his race is over. So we're getting down to the business end of this one. Is the Australian going to carry the day? Is he going to do to Andrew Stroud what he did to him at the Cemetery Circuit in Wanganui? You're riding on board here with Brian Bernard Racing, Dan Stouffer from Australia. And chasing him like there's no tomorrow is the 9-time New Zealand champion, and that is Andrew Stroud. Once again, you just hear that wheel spin up, the rear wheel losing traction as they come out of the dipper and out into the big sweeper once again. And has Stouffer got a winning break here? Down to the line they come. Here comes the big drive from the 9-time champion, but he's not close enough yet. Stouffer in the front, Stroud in second place. There's laps to run here in Christchurch, and Andrew Stroud outbreaks and going into one with 1 lap to go, and it's Stroud in the front. You're on board with Dan Stouffer. Gets as close as he possibly can to Andrew Stroud, but it's the 9 times champion that's pulled off the opportune pass at the opportune time to lead here in Christchurch. Round 1 of the Castrol Power 1 New Zealand Superbike Road Racing Championship, and one of the most exciting Grand Prix we've ever seen. And here comes the action once again at the hairpin. Stouffer tries the crossover. It doesn't work. So for the moment, Andrew Stroud leading this one. Down through the infield, through Fulton Hogan and into the Christchurch Casino Carousel they come. You just see the camera on the back of Andrew Stroud's bike as we ride, taking the pictures on the camera on Brian Bernard Racing Dan Stouffer's Yamaha. Stouffer regathering the forces, looking to make another challenge as they run towards the checkered flag. But as I said before, hold all tickets. There may be an inquiry, and it will hinge around the fact whether there was justification to let Andrew Stroud start. But at the moment, all the excitement's on the racetrack as they work their way in and out of the dipper. Stouffer gets a little bit closer. Stroud gets a big wheelie as they come out of the dipper and down the short chute. You're riding with Dan Stouffer. Can he get up the inside? No. Stroud shuts the door and now makes that David Reed Holmes Suzuki just as wide as possible. Down the straight they come for the last time, and Andrew Stroud is going to take the win on the racetrack anyway. A victory wheelie for the 9-time champion, but he doesn't get the win. As you see on our results board, Dan Stouffer gets the Grand Prix win, and unfortunately for Andrew Stroud, he is ineligible for the restart and he is disqualified.
You know, Andy's pretty good into the corner, so I was trying to get out to match him, and it was working there. And I thought even on the last lap when he went past, I thought we've still got a shot at this, but he covered his lines pretty good. He wasn't born yesterday, but and we just didn't have enough just to make it. So you know, the overall win's good enough, and yeah, you got to take that.
I guess first things first. In the first start, what happened? I don't often see you wash the front end out.
No. Just have to ripple through that corner, you know, outside wheel of the cars, ripple it up a little bit. And I was pushing real hard. I think I was at 0.6 of a second faster than we've been around here before. I was really on a serious mission. And it just went before I knew it, really. And before I even hit the ground, I was planning on jumping back on. Ran to the bike, but the handlebar snapped off, so it put me out. I had the rule book out to see whether I could start again, and it said you had to do either 3 laps or 2/3 of the race or something. They were still a bit confused and weren't going to let me out, and I said, why don't we talk about it afterwards?
Just got a little problem with my left arm. I've had it for years, but it's never given me trouble here before, but it has been this weekend. I couldn't feel it by the end of that race at all. My hand was numb and sort of having a little bit of trouble holding on, but sort of lucky that I had quite a gap behind me, so I was just able to back off the pace a little bit, because I was going to have a go at trying to catch up the other 2 at the front once I've got past James, but yeah, it was just beyond me today.
No, I'm really happy with that, especially after the drama in the first race. I was a bit down, sitting in the trailer, hating on life a little bit, but now I'm stoked to get 3rd. It's definitely where I wanted to sort of be in the top 3, so I'm just really looking forward to getting to levels and hopefully backing it up.
So if we have a look after a pretty eventful day here in Christchurch, it is Dan Stouffer on top, Australians 1 and 2 in the Superbikes, Robbie Buckton in second place. Poor old Andrew Stroud's got a lot of work to do, 25 points in arrears now. To the victor goes the spoils, and a new innovation here at Powerbolt Tools Raceway. The sign banner, that will go on Trade Me. Some lucky person will get a very long-lasting souvenir from Christchurch.
Today's racing was brought to you by Suzuki Motorcycles. Own the racetrack.